Coming up next on our channel, The House That Screamed. It's a story of a secluded cabin, of isolation and madness. It comes from a viewer. This happened in 2016 in a remote area of New York State. In the early 90s, my parents and I purchased a cottage in the woods. We named it Whispering Pines. It was an older cabin, probably built in the 70s by its previous owner, a local businessman who used it for hunting trips. Over the years, Whispering Pines had been neglected. Ivy grew up the side of the cabin, engulfing the rockery and creeping across the porch railing. There was a natural gas generator attached to the house to power the hot water heater and stove. The interior needed a lot of work. The wallpaper was peeling and there were large holes in the ceiling from leaks. But the bones of the house were good and it was situated on a private road, so we felt lucky to have found it. We spent every weekend and holiday there over the course of a year making repairs and decorating. My sister and I would spend our summers there while our parents commuted back and forth from the city. The last repair project was to install storm windows and screens. Installation was finished and the final step was to caulk around the window frames. I was up on a ladder caulking along. My sister and I would take turns each day with this chore. Well, suddenly I heard her scream. I dropped my caulk gun and hurried to the porch. My sister stood frozen, pointing a shaky finger at the window. The screen was nailed to the frame, but someone had pushed it inward. As I got closer, I could see what looked like scratches on the glass. I thought maybe a bird had gotten trapped inside, but as I got closer still, I realized it wasn't a bird, it was a handprint. Fear must have made me appear stupid because my mom came out and asked what I was doing. I pointed to the window. We looked at each other for a moment. Then she went back inside. She came out carrying a large Bible which she placed on the porch swing. She then proceeded to read several passages aloud. After she finished, I heard her talking to my dad on the phone. She hung up and said to me, "That was your Uncle George. He lives near here." I asked him to come over. I waited, and soon enough, my uncle drove up in his pickup truck. He was a bear of a man, over 6 feet tall, all muscle, with a handlebar mustache. My aunt was with him and she was very petite and pretty. Everyone was startled by the sight of the handprint. My uncle shrugged and said, "Yeah, I guess there goes the theory that this place is haunted. I wonder who did that." He brought out some plywood, cut some boards to fit the openings and nailed them shut. Then we all went inside to have lunch. As the afternoon wore on, we discussed what to do about the mystery handprint. My uncle shook his head and said, "Whoever or whatever did that isn't going to do it again anytime soon." And he was right. The only other incident that summer was some objects being thrown across the room while we were playing charades. But that could be easily explained by a draft from the chimney. The following spring, we were getting ready to put the cottage back in mothballs for the season. It was late March, and we had just dug the snow off the driveway. My sister and I were clearing off the porch. She picked up the boards that covered the mysterious window, intending to throw them in the shed. "Let me help you," I said. "Don't bother Steve. Leave them here," she replied. "What?" I asked. "Why? Do you think somebody's gonna come in and try to break the window again?" She laughed. "No, I just want to leave them here for, decoration." I shrugged and went to the shed. Later that evening, as we were finishing up, my sister pulled my dad aside and said, "Dad, can I ask you something? What was that weird thing in the window last year?" He looked surprised. "What are you talking about?" She pressed. "You know, the handprint. Don't lie, did somebody do that?" "Oh, that," he said, waving it off. "It was probably just some kids from town egging you on. They thought it'd be funny. But why would they put boards over the window if they wanted to break it?" He paused, looking down. "Your uncle said it was some pranksters. Don't worry about it." She went back to stacking chairs. "Okay," my dad said quietly. Later, after we were tucked into bed, my sister and I whispered under our covers. Did Dad just tell me a lie? What, did he really think that was just some kids? "I don't know," I replied. "What else would it be?" The next summer, we were all heading up to the cottage for the holiday weekend. Dad was driving. Mom was in the front seat with a cassette tape player to listen to music. My sister and I were in the back. "Stop the car," my sister said. "Pull over, I need to get out, are you sure?" "We're almost there," Dad said. "I have to go in there," she insisted. "Suit yourself," Dad muttered. He found a spot to park and we all got out. Mom and I stood there scratching our heads wondering what was going on. My sister was practically running to the front door. She disappeared inside and we heard her rummaging around. Then she came out carrying a board and nailed it to the wall beside the stairs leading to the porch. "There," she said triumphantly. On the board was the imprint of a hand. For the rest of the summer, the handprints kept appearing. We started calling it the Screaming House because every time one of us would find a new handprint, we would all start yelling. My sister and I would jump up and down trying to catch whoever was doing this. No one ever showed themselves. By the end of the summer, the whole porch was covered with handprints. Dad took off the boards, nailed new ones over the window and installed screens on the doors. That winter, we left the cottage alone. Come spring, I headed up alone to check on the place. While I was clearing the porch, I noticed the new window covering was gone. I shrugged and figured some animal had ripped it off. I went inside to check for damage and found nothing. As I stood in the middle of the room, I heard a loud crash. I spun around and saw a rocking chair on the other side of the room, rocking slowly. back and forth, back and forth. I decided not to stick around to find out what else might happen. And that was the last time I ever set foot in Whispering Pines. Many years passed. Our dad died and Mom remarried. My sister and I both started families of our own. Whispering Pines changed hands several times and eventually burned to the ground. Last year I was researching our family tree and I found my cousin Samantha on Facebook. I reached out to her and asked about the cottage. She told me that her parents currently own the property where Whispering Pines once stood. Apparently, the cottage burned down during a storm. Nobody was hurt. One day last summer, my wife and I drove up to the site. All that remained of the cottage was a stone chimney. The surrounding trees had grown much taller, blocking out most of the sun. It was a very dark drive. We stood there for a few moments and then we got back in the car and headed home. My wife was silent the entire ride. What? I asked. What did you think? It creeped me out, she said. I got the willies. Let's never go there again. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. If you like scary stories, be sure to follow our channel for more spine-chilling tales. And if you want to submit your own spooky story for consideration, use the link in the description below. We'll see you next time.